We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
His lyrics, though, I really enjoy. Sometimes you have to hear him a few times.
Yeah, you gotta listen to it
Boy,
twice, and then you kind of know which ones you're really.
What's the one that's like, I know girls that take pictures when they're traveling and save them so they can make it look like they're still on the go. I'm like, ooh, he just put everybody. He just put everybody I know unnoticed.
I save all of my photos.
We recycle. It's okay.
Leave it to him to cut to the core of every Instagram girl that I've ever met. You do that, right?
I mean, I don't act like I'm
not to
in
say I'm
Jersey
still. Also, would that be the go-to place? You're like, I'm still here, guys. Vacationing in Jersey.
I would never.
But you're not doing that either.
Right. But sometimes I'll save photos to recycle and tag Los Angeles.
And if we just like run out of pictures, then we'll have to go back.
The struggle is real.
Yeah,
you know this.
I know.
His point is probably the same. I know girls who go to Rome and just take pictures of Rome for all the people back home because they can't understand that what they actually care about is the people that are around them.
Was that word for word?
No, I mean, it was a lyric into an observation.
You know how I knew when we were going to be friends was when we were both busting out Cardi B at the wedding, just like completely like
I remember
lyric by lyric.
You know what was Jaden Smith's song Icon?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, have you heard of it? Not only
bitch, have I heard of it?
He knows the dance, he knows the lyrics.
Like, I'm so sorry. It's amazing.
Someday I'm gonna be really old and I'm gonna try to do a math problem, and in the part of my brain where math is supposed to be, it's just gonna be rap lyrics.
Yeah, you know, like I can only imagine how many songs you know if you learn them that quickly.
Millions. I don't know what it is. It's the skill that I got. I'm trying to monetize it, and I haven't figured out yet how to
have your own like Sam Shazam app.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
People just rap to you.
They just call Sam.
Let me check. I'm gonna do one more last double check of the cameras, and then we'll introduce the show and hop on. Let me just
love it.
for a second here. All right.
How they doing?
They're doing great.
You can
recording.
Check it throughout. That's fine.
I think he's going to.
Yeah. Sorry. I appreciate your permission.
Oh my god.
I think if you are though, I think it's funny of Drake to like call out the people like that. But I think if you're like, I think a lot of hatred toward like millennial, like I like taking pictures attitude, I think a lot of that is misplaced.
Sure.
Obviously people like taking pictures.
Of course they do.
We always have. We just didn't have a way to distribute them.
Exactly. And like to say that is necessarily like taking you out of what you're doing, I don't know if that's really necessary. That's like fair, because I have a lot of friends that post pictures of places that they are, things that they're doing, things that they're listening to, and one, it doesn't make them listening to or being in those places any less, and it makes it so that I can like be friends with them about it. I can connect with them on it. I kind of like that.
That is cool.
I have seen people that overdo it though. Like I have friends that will just constantly be recording things and trying to get the right picture, or like the go-to friend that doesn't let you eat until they've taken the right picture.
And I think maybe the worst side of it is like the emotional investment side of it. Like I know a bunch of people that are like, oh my god, all I want in the world is just to go to Rome, and then but like bish, no, you just want to post a picture of Rome so your friend can see that you were there. It's you don't actually want to be there, and that's not because they're going and it's taking them out of the moment by taking pictures. It's because they like legitimately don't care about what.
Yeah. They just want the cool
their
picture of
their
it.
interest isn't in Rome. Their interest is in the photo of it.
Well, I like being able to see, like even going to work. Like there's a lot of people that at work I'll watch their stories, and then you don't ask them what they did over the weekend. You just touch on, oh, what was that like? What was going to the beach like? What was going to that event like? And you kind of like ask more questions with it. So I'm really excited. But let's just introduce you real quick, even though we've been like recording for a while. And we have Sam Miller in the house. We have Savannah Mills in the house. And we've already been discussing rap and Instagram. We have so many cool things to talk about. Those are like hot topics, you know?
Yeah.
But Savannah we've known forever. Sam we've gotten to know over the past year? 6 months.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. Very, very skilled
Yeah, sure.
young man. Love him. Can't wait to dig into some really cool stuff. But yeah, welcome. Welcome to
you.
the Freddie and
Welcome,
Melissa
y'all.
podcast
This
in
is
our
really cool.
living room.
I've never been on a podcast before.
Really?
I like being able to hear my voice like
Isn't it
this,
cool?
though. Yeah.
I
It
don't.
sounds.
But you are a musician too, though, so
Yeah.
you sing and everything.
Yeah, I've been obsessed with the sound of my own voice through a microphone, through headphones
Sure.
for a long time, but this feels particularly NPR-y.
I love that.
Feels like,
You do love your podcasts.
yeah. I like listening to them.
Well, they are really good. Do you have any that you like right now that you are listening to?
Yeah, I really love the Freddie and Alyssa show. Is this
Good answer.
this show that I've been listening to a lot. Bill Simmons he was an ESPN guy that now is at The Ringer, or owns the website The Ringer. And he has professional athletes on, and he gets them to like talk like real people,
Love
which is
that.
kind of think a very unique skill.
Sure.
I think you guys are talking. I think the benefit of a podcast, you just feel like you're sitting at a dinner table talking to the people that are there, and oh my god, I just want to eat dinner with Kevin Durant so bad. Even though I kind of hate his guts right now, I just want to hang out with him so badly. And Bill Simmons is like that.
Don't you feel like we have a lot to say nowadays? Like there's so much to talk about, and I think podcast is a good way to get a full explanation. Like if I only had like 2 minutes to get your views on like climate change, it's like
You can't get super into anything.
yeah,
really
like I
without
kind of like that
much
we have the time
Yeah.
to do that. So it's really interesting, and I also want to tell you, Savannah, too. Which is one of the things I'm excited to talk to you about is I watched Solstice Ranch.
I can't believe you hadn't seen it yet.
I didn't even. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, well, when I first watched it, I was in Vegas. And I was alone because it's when I was doing the conference speaking, and I was like alone and watching it. I was like,
Was
oh,
that the
this is
final
so
one
good.
that had like the animation and everything?
No, I showed him that one
Okay.
though, today. So
it was
he's-
so good. The
You like
opening
it?
But yeah, do you want to like share a little bit with the audience, like what Solstice is, the process, and kind of just everything about your
Oh
your
boy.
short? I'll put it all on you.
Yeah.
writer, producer, actress
Mm-hmm.
of Solstice Ranch. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, you helped so much. Alyssa was producer on it, and like, holy
It's a lot,
shit!
yeah, it's
Can we
amazing.
cuss?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. You did so much, but the whole process of it was crazy and not something that I was expecting at all.
Sure.
Like that you really don't know. You know it's going to be a lot of work, and you know that there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of things that I knew that I didn't know that I would have to learn going through it, but I did not realize how much there was. And I think doing Solstice made all of us realize that the next one we don't want to do as much. Like we want to figure out how to do something with the same sort of, because like Solstice looks really good. It looks professionally
Yeah,
done.
looks
It
really,
looks like
really good. I
a
was,
really
like,
nice project, and we want to do that, but smaller next time.
Smaller in
cast.
in what sense?
Cast and crew. We had a lot of crew. There were like 20
Huge,
PAs
yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
It's ambitious. You guys are at like a 90s summer camp.
I
That's
know. We
there's
chose
not
the
few people at those 90s
it was
summer
like the
camp.
hardest thing to do.
And the locations too, and the set designs,
Yeah.
and shooting it on different weekends, and breaking it down, and putting it back together.
Plus, you really carried the baton all the way around the track. Like you were like, we have this idea, we want to make something. Let's fundraise for it. You raise all the money for it.
Yeah.
That was I actually forgot about that.
All the way
Yeah,
through
that
to
was
being
a
the
lot.
one who's like mad about the animator. It's not getting turned in. That's a
It
lot
all turned
of
That was
out
its own
really well.
lot of-
thing.
a lot
I
of
love
stress.
the one we went with.
The animation's
Wall
really
to
great.
wall.
I just
Yeah,
love
he
the
loved it. He
vibe.
knows who
Love
did
the
that. So
Love the animator.
Because you can really impress your friends, because it's like when you know people, like I knew most of the actors in it, and like, but I was like, this is really good, like genuinely really good.
Do you feel like the animation and the music led you in to like a 90s feel for the film? Because 90s is so present now anyways that we were
Yeah.
struggling with actually identifying it as a movie that was in the 90s and not just kids that liked the style from the 90s. Do you feel like the animation kind of like brought you in, or like you were in that space sort
Yeah,
of?
I noticed like some of the brands that were drawn to like bring you back what was popular at the time, and so no, I just thought it was really good. It was very conversational, good story, and you just found out recently. I know you said we can't tell too much information, so do you want to?
yeah, until July 12th. But we got into a very prestigious film festival
Yeah,
that
baby.
we're very excited about. Depending when this airs, I guess we won't say it, but we're really excited.
Yeah.
I mean, it's full circle, because this came from your brain, a story from your brain that you get all these people together, a huge crew, you crowdfund, all of that, and it came to life.
Yeah,
That's
I remember it being
incredible.
crazy the first day Katie and I showed up to set together. You guys had been there for like 2 hours getting everything set up, and we got there, and there were already like these huge blue tents, and the bathroom was being brought in, and it was just like ours.
Yeah.
It
You
was
had
like
porta
our little
potties brought in.
our porta potties
Yeah.
with air conditioning.
That is a
It
flex.
was so amazing.
gosh.
So, which part though do you like best? Writing, acting, producing of your experience on this project?
I know.
What?
Acting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Acting, because acting, my entire reason for doing this was that I could give myself something to act in. Between writing and producing.
Okay.
The writing was fun. I don't know how many stories I have in me to like
Sure.
bring from my brain to a page. I can take things that are already done and completely make them my own.
Yeah.
I don't know how many stories I actually have like living in my head to bring to paper. But like I can produce the shit out of
Yeah.
I think it comes with
anything,
just
throw it in.
experiences in life, though, don't you
Yeah.
think? Like I mean,
Especially the published author over here.
Maybe, I don't
look
know.
at this book right here. It's actually
I
incredible.
like
So you're
to
kind of the
write.
opposite then. Or
Yeah.
would you say writing is
Yeah,
your
yeah,
favorite
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and you don't? Do you act or you want to act? Or you...
No. I think I would be very bad. I did
We've seen the
community theater.
USC
I don't
short
think
film that
you'd
you
be
did.
But you're a
bad.
musician.
There's
I think
no
I would be
way
very.
you
I
would
think
be
I would be
bad.
very bad.
No way.
No way.
I
No, I
appreciate that. You guys are
say.
being very sweet to me. I think I'll be very bad. I think
Personality dude, is what carries
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
Personality, timing.
I think.
it. Yeah.
I think that the art of acting is the art of like getting out of your own way, and that is like the thing that I'm not good at doing. If I were to, I would step into a role where they'd be like, "Yo, you're playing Samuel Miller. You're a nerdy transplant from South Dakota, living in Los Angeles. You've got glasses. You're not exactly sure how to talk to people, but you're pretty confident that you're a very smart guy. You think a lot of the things that you say are clever. Some people also think that they're clever, but very rarely. That is your
funny.
role." And I would be like, "Okay, mate." I'd be like, "No, just be yourself. Just stop and don't. Like, why are you putting jazz hands up?" I don't know. That's what I feel like I should be
So
doing.
funny.
I did like community theater, and that I had to be like showy and big and over the top. I couldn't get out of my own way and just.
But you also toured with a band for quite some time, correct?
Mhm.
You're the lead singer.
Mhm.
Do you play any instruments?
Not really. Not
Not
well
really?
enough to. I play
Um,
piano sometimes, but it doesn't count.
Which do you prefer more then, singing and the music side, or writing? If you
Ooh.
had to pick.
Writing.
Yeah.
Writing.
Wow. How
And
did you get into it?
And it prefers me much more as well. Yes.
Please.
I don't think I was a very good singer.
We've
Good at-
seen you
good at
sing
everything.
Icon.
Really a lot of vocal range in that one.
Oh, I know. But yeah, what about this book? This is your second book. Or how many books have you written?
I have written 4. This is my first one to ever come out.
Okay.
Congratulations.
And you just got back from a tour, and you both went. You were
went-
there for most
I
of
went
it,
for a little
right?
bit, not for most of it. I met up with them twice. I was
The
there for like a
important
week,
parts.
and then and
So-
then for a little under a week.
How does that happen then? How do you get a book tour? How did you fall into this? How did you? Because you have an agent.
Mm-hmm.
You worked with a publisher.
Yeah, I started writing books when we were touring because I had a lot of extra time and I wanted to write screenplays, and I had moved to LA like, I'm going to be a screenwriter, I'm going to make movies, it's super easy. All I have to do is take the script that I've written, go to a producer, they'll buy it, millions of dollars later.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll have the life that I want to have.
Similar with acting.
And then I like
Totally.
walked into a coffee shop on like my first day in LA, and they're like, "Oh, you're a screenwriter? Cool. You can go to our screenwriter section over there, where there are 45 people who look just like you and also have screenplays that they
Right.
can't get producers to read either."
Oh man.
So I tried to pick something where I felt like I don't know if this means the bar is higher or lower, but like something that I felt like fewer people would be able to do, just in terms of like giving the time to it. Which novel writing, not a lot of people write books because
Yeah.
it takes a while. And I had this idea that couldn't be a screenplay, and so I was like, I'll write it into a book. And I had kind of talked about that around our music agent, and he told me that he had gone to college with a woman that had gone into the book industry.
Wow.
and he sent it to her. And the book was about an autistic boy. This is really the lucky piece of it. The book was about a boy who was autistic, and I had spent a lot of time developing the perspective and doing research and just chatting online with autistic kids. And she had, before going into books, spent 5 years working at a center for autistic children and developmentally disabled children. And so she, like, it was like one of those, like, serendipitous, she connected to the material pretty strongly. I don't think the book was particularly well written, but I do think the perspective was particularly well written, and she got that and sort of saw that as like this is a person that I can work with. And at the time she was just seeing her first she was sort of skyrocketing to success because she had signed this author, Veronica Roth, who wrote Divergent. So that
I know that is.
It's a really big,
it's huge.
It's a very big young adult book. And she was like young and hot and just had this cool thing she was kind of rolling into, and she didn't have anyone on her roster that was like writing like intense contemporary perspective books, and that was what I do. So I finished that book, so we took it out to sell, nobody wanted to buy it. I wrote this book, and it sold.
People love it.
People wanted it.
And do you want to do, for our audience so that they know, do you want to talk a little bit about your book that's out right now and about your tour? And I'm just curious what that was like. Is it tedious?
A light to
let's
bright.
put it up on the, let's have Sam hold it. It's
I'm
like,
into
this
that.
is like, dude,
It's
the coolest
huge.
thing ever.
Huge.
A little too bright. Look at
A light too bright.
A light too bright.
It's okay. It looks like a little too bright.
A light too
It's a
bright.
little too small for Freddie.
It's a little.
Second reader.
The bushrings of that title have been just spectacular. It happens
my
constantly.
gosh.
Yeah, it's called A Light Too Bright. It's a contemporary young adult mystery novel that is about a boy whose great-grandfather was a great American writer who developed early onset Alzheimer's and kind of abandoned his writing career, and then abandoned their family and disappeared from them, and then they found his body 5 days later across the country in Ohio. He was dead. And the novel follows his grandson, who is going through his own kind of emotional and spiritual upheaval, and he finds this journal that his grandfather wrote, even though his grandfather had supposedly hadn't written in the last 40 years. And so he realizes that there's a lot more to his grandfather's life that they didn't understand, and he sets out on this train ride across the country trying to piece his grandfather's life back together using only the journals that his grandfather had left behind that are kind of marred by Alzheimer's and dementia. And it ends up becoming a lot more of like a modern historical mystery, sort of like the comps I would make would be to like National Treasure, and there's like it takes a lot of like traditional American history and American literature and then like rewrites it as like a mystery, as though there are all of these missing pieces that we weren't really seeing in these American historical stories. And kind of like you seen the movie Big Fish, the Tim Burton movie from 2009?
Actually, yes,
Have you seen
a long
that movie
time
is
ago.
truly devastating, and it's mostly about this guy whose dad is dying, and his dad his entire life has told him all these like big fantastic stories, and as his dad is dying he has to kind of piece together like what is the truth behind these fables that he was telling. And it's a lot of that. It's a lot of trying to understand somebody after they're gone, trying to make sense of who somebody was through the stories that they told, understanding that those stories weren't a lot of times like literal or actual. They were representative of something that is a lot more
Oh, I'm
rich
so
emotionally.
excited to read it. We're going to Ohio Monday, so I'm going to bring this on.
Nice.
Monday.
It's a very good. It's an airplane book. You got to read it while you're traveling.
Oh, it's perfect.
And you actually went on a train
Yeah.
for your research, so
Isn't that crazy?
What? The what? Tell
Yeah,
us
once I
about
decided
that.
that the character was going to go on a train ride, I took the actual train ride that he takes across the country, and I stayed. I tried to use like Airbnb and couch surfing to like recreate what he would be doing. So like he stays with his aunt and uncle. I found a middle-aged couple on Airbnb, and I stayed with them.
Oh my gosh! So you knew the story before?
I knew
you
some
went-
of the outlines of it. It wasn't written at the time. It was mostly just like, and a lot of it I ended up being wrong about. Like I switched it up. At one point I thought he was going to stay with like 3 20-year-old girls in Elko, Nevada, and ends up being that he stays with a 85-year-old women. So
And is that
it's
based
switched,
off
but
of people that you met and characters that were created? from
there
that?
are, in some ways, yeah. Ultimately, it ended up being a lot of like the specific people that I added to the book had to get cut because they were like extraneous to the story. Like a lot of times, the process of revising anything. Do you guys write? Are you both writers at all?
we write.
Yeah.
I don't not to this extent, but
Not
we
novels.
Write.
Right,
She
yeah,
actually is a
sure.
really good. I mean, you're a way better writer than I am. I'm more of a
You're
math
writing a
guy
book,
than a
aren't you?
reading
Sure.
and grammar.
Sure.
person.
Yeah, we are writing a book.
You guys are writing a book.
I mean, we are, but it's a
Yeah.
different. Like, I feel like
Total-
telling stories and characters in a book form. Like I think
Such a
screenplay
talent.
and then like something like from
Yeah.
first person. But like this fascinates me because it's such a skill that like I don't feel would come natural to me. So
Created
I'm
like
so
an
impressed.
entire world
Yeah,
out of
like,
your
on
brain.
page.
What?
Really cool.
Dr. Leonard gassed me up over here. Just gassing me up. Yeah, but well, so I think one of the things that everybody finds out pretty quickly, and I'm sure you figured this out in Solstice, and is that like the process of writing something and the process of revising something are equally important in like what the final product is, and a lot of the process of revising ends up being an editor saying to you, is this necessary? Do we need this? Is the audience really going to care about this in this moment? Because when you're writing, everything is important. Like the
Yeah.
characters are so immediate to you that you're like, oh, the audience is going to want to know
Getting rid of
more
anything.
about
It's
this
like,
snack
no,
cart
no.
attendant. They're going to need to know. And so ultimately a lot of the people that I met along the way, I had written in as specific characters and specific interactions,
Yeah.
and then they got cut because the editor would be like,
Oh.
we don't need this guy. But I do think that the people that I met there are some characters that are literally in there, and more so like there are just sort of like generally like attitudes that people espouse to you, and you can kind of like feel the way that those change in the different places that you're in, and that affected the story in a way that would be kind of like impossible to literalize, but
Yeah.
like I think you kind of feel as you read it.
Well, what do you think, too, though, has been your biggest obstacle of getting this from your brain to paper to the bookstores? Like, through the entire process, what has been the hardest part for you personally?
Well, I got writing it would be is a bit too broad of an answer probably, but like the actual creation of the first draft, mostly not because the like actual act of writing is that hard, and not even really because like obviously it's long and there are a lot of words, but like once you get going once on an idea, it doesn't take very long to write things. More just the like constantly negotiating with like the self-doubt and self-consciousness that comes with
Of course.
making something that you're trying to make worthy of people reading it, but that's a pretty high standard to set for anything. So I think probably that.
Yeah.
I like had this idea that I really loved, and I'm sure this is what everybody says about anything that they make, but like there are pretty long swings of loving and hating it. You know, like I thought it's a genius idea one day, and then all of a sudden you hit a snag toward the end of the second act, and you're like, no, this was a stupid idea from the get-go. Who convinced me this was a good idea?
I think that
Like,
that's just being an artist, though, whether it's music or writing or painting or whatever, you be
Yeah.
sensitive. It's your creation,
Yeah.
right? Like,
And when you spend so much time in one world, you almost get sick of it to a point where you just like looking at it is now annoying,
Yeah.
and you need to take a break.
Yes.
You need to take a step
Or at least
back
you're
and
like
then
looking
get
at it
back
so
into
closely that you see the cracks in all of the
Yep.
yeah.
in all of the.
But what I like
shows.
about both of you with writing the script and writing the book and having all of this is because I remember you were talking about like the theme of our podcast, and not that we have like a theme thing, but we always like to bring up the challenges that people go through and when they do succeed and fight through all of those obstacles. Because I think a lot of people have great ideas, they have great business ideas, they have great things to bring to the world, but it's the fear of maybe rejection, or it's, you know, even when we write or anything we do, we're like, how many times have you watched Solstice now? Like, it's
Oh my
amazing, but you
God,
probably
like, get
see
it
it so many
away.
times
Enough
that
to
it's like,
Yeah.
you start doubting, do I need fresh stuff because it's no longer, like when we write a draft and like I'll write like a couple great scenes and she'll be laughing out loud and you feel so good, and then we read it through again and like no one's laughing and you're like, is it not funny anymore?
good.
Or is it not
Yeah.
interesting? But it's just like, I've heard the jokes, and you have to realize, you know, this is good. I know what I'm doing, this is good, and without being too attached to it. 'Cause
Yeah.
you have to be willing to change stuff. So
And I think that's particularly, I mean, I think it's difficult regardless of the art. My biggest difficulty came in that process having its way on the way that I was constructing a plot, because in a lot of ways trying to build like a plot forward is like, particularly with something this long, is like building a skyscraper from the ground up, but not like knowing what any of your higher levels are going to look like, and just hoping that when you get there, there's like you've left yourself enough materials to be
Right.
able to like make a higher level, because and there are a lot of moments where it feels like you don't, and you get there and you're like, oh fuck, why did I use all the good ideas down there? Why did I use all my good reveals back in that first act? I'm screwed now. There's nothing interesting, nothing holding the audience. And you're looking so closely at the details that, like, it's so easy to forget about. This is the part that I make myself laugh with all the time, and it's not funny, so no one's gonna laugh at it. But I forget what things are about. Like, I'll be inside of like writing a scene, and I'll be like, I'll be like, write a line where it's obvious that like the character knows what happened to his grandfather. I'm like, wait, no. He can't say that. He doesn't know. That's what this whole book is about. The whole entire point of it is that he doesn't know what happened to the grandfather. That's the mystery.
Right.
But you get so involved in the minutia of it that you forget, like, and that I think is, when you are involved in the details, when you are seeing the cracks, you're like, this is garbage and this is shit. And then hopefully, if it is good enough, you can step back far enough and be like, it's a decent building. Looks pretty good.
As you write, then, do you send chapters to the editor? Is it go like
I
that?
don't know.
No.
I do it all. I have to finish it before I get it to anybody. Otherwise, I would get too self-conscious too early. I think the writing and revising have to be like really separate processes, and it's better to have a shit first draft than like a really, really great draft that you feel like you're going along with very well, because that just means I'm going to get more self-conscious when I get toward the end of it. I have to kind of do it all at once.
So people can find A Light to Bright on Amazon as well as in major bookstores, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Any Barnes & Noble. It's Light is spelled Lite though.
I love that.
That's tricky.
Yeah.
There is a purpose for it. I swear.
Someone might look at it and say little.
A little too bright. Yeah.
And
they would be like, that book is a little too bright.
It's a light too bright in bookstores everywhere.
I promise there's a reason for it. It's not just like a dumb like,
I'm so excited to read it.
Yeah, we have some traveling coming up, so and I just love too, like, where did the cover and like
the
all the art and
so pretty.
Just a beautiful, amazing illustrator named Victor Nagai. As the publisher is this company, it's Catherine Teagan Books, which is a subsidiary of HarperCollins, which is a pretty big book publisher, which means that they are like a very polished machine in how they turn these things out. And I had never really worked with a company that big on anything before, but one of the cool parts was they took care of the making of the book. I'm like looking at it like, wow, I didn't have anything to do with what this physical object is. Yeah.
Because even too, like the
decal edge, baby.
What the heck? This is
so
like,
nice.
Did you know they were going to do that? No? Oh, they
It's called
just
decal
knew.
edge.
Decal edge.
What is
Decal?
It's called decal edge.
Decal edge. I don't know if you
I
can
just
see
recently
from
learned that.
But it is. I don't know. It's just really cool. It just
I
fits.
love
Lovely,
that.
yeah.
It's like so awesome.
And you're writing another book, correct?
Yeah, I have another one coming out in 2019.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about it, or are you not
Yes,
allowed?
I can. But I don't like. It's not that I'm not allowed to say anything. I just don't know if I am fully sure of what it's about exactly yet. It takes place at a boarding school in the early 90s.
90s, baby.
Yep.
You're just dropped into a world where a bunch of teenagers from all around the globe have been recruited to come to this school because they all have like a weird variety of accomplishments, and it's sort of one of those like, the universe is a little bit like off balance and like Twin Peaksian, but you don't know what is wrong with it or what is weird about it, so you kind of just like accept it as the characters do. And a girl goes missing, and it becomes like one of these very classic like young adult multi-perspective who knows what about why the girl is missing. And as you get further into it, you start to get some like catastrophic reveals about like why the kids are at the school in the first place, what the kids are doing there, what they know and don't know. It mostly becomes like an unspooling of like why they're there. I like it because it is kids from all around the world, so it's like who all have like a variety of weird and interesting talents that have made them very, very like emotionally evolved. So it's a lot of like, it's almost like you guys Aaron Sorkin fans, like The West Wing or
I haven't really watched
Studio
that.
60
but-
fan
or
of
The
some of it.
Newsroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Social Network.
Yeah,
This is his
of
biggest
course.
movie. So he's like big. He writes a lot of like workplace dramas, which are basically like really intelligent people speaking really quickly to each other with a lot of emotional awareness and a lot of like rationality. That's sort of it's that, except for it's like teenagers who are doing it.
Cool.
I didn't know it was Sorkin-y.
It's a Sorkin.
Sorkin. It's a thing now.
I think it's really good. I swear to God, I'll have a way better and more succinct like description of what it is in like 6 months once I've been able to go through. But right now, that one is just the process where like I've written the first draft. It's longer than this and too long, and my editor is now reading it, and then he'll come back to me and be like, "Cool, there's a lot in here. We don't need all of this. You're really falling in love with the sound of your own voice here. This storyline is incredibly extraneous. I don't understand why this character does this, but this one thing is kind of good."
Sure.
And then we'll figure it out from there. Yeah.
And so have you focused solely on books, or have you been also doing like screenplays? Did you two ever think about doing a screenplay together?
We like kind of talked about it. Yeah, we just haven't had the
we need the idea yet.
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately a little bit like slave to like I kind of have to feel a little bit like it's like lightning in a bottle. Like I'm not very good at like working to an idea. It has to like
Be there.
come pretty fully formed.
Yeah.
I don't know if are you the same way? How did Solstice? What was the initial idea for Solstice? Like, what did you?
Excuse me.
Katie and I, like, the very, very start of it was that Katie and I wanted to write something for ourselves. So, like, we didn't come to it with an idea of it. It wasn't like, oh my God, I have this idea for us and it would be amazing. What if we? It was, okay, let's try and create something for ourselves.
Sure. So, what was like the first nugget of the idea that got you started writing?
We got into a conversation about what we thought would be important to share, and there's so many. I mean, Alyssa and I like live in rom-com world, and that's like our thing. So we were thinking about those and how. Have you seen what was the movie with Rebel Wilson that came out like 2 years ago? It takes place in New York.
Pitch
Dakota.
Perfect.
No.
That's what I was thinking. That's literally where it's going.
Single Girls or something?
How to be single.
Yes, How to Be Single.
So that movie.
Yeah, honey.
Nailed it.
I'm proud of you. A little ashamed in you, Alyssa.
I think I've seen
A
that.
little disappointed. It was really good, but the whole storyline is based around the normal rom-com things where there's the guys that they can't get and the guys that they can get but they don't really want, and they go back and forth, and they end up alone but happy rather than the normal like rom-com where regardless of what's going on, the guy and the girl end up together. And Katie and I love just rom-coms in general, but we're like, what's a different story that hasn't really been told? And we wanted to sort of romanticize friendships versus the guy and girl relationship. So it was kind of all around that. We were trying to figure out a way to just show that's important, that the friendship at the end of the day, regardless. And the story, I don't think the story even really started off with the love interest that we have between Stephanie and Mike. I think that was like sort of kind of there, but it was more drama around the two best friends, and then at the end they resolved things. And I mean, the first draft took place in like what are those dating things called? You go and every person sits at a table. Speed dating. Yeah. It was like a speed dating. It was a completely different storyline. Not in the 90s at all. That came like way later. But yeah, it was just kind of wanting to tell a story of friendship in the setting of a romantic comedy.
Cool.
Yeah.
And doing this, the whole ranch thing, did you write in the back of your mind knowing that you wanted to keep the budget low? Or did that just all kind of work out that because you didn't have many locations?
We didn't think about anything. We were just like, what would be pretty on screen? And then we wrote it, and then we realized how much we needed for it, and then we got really, really lucky with our investor that doubled what we made from crowdfunding. Otherwise, there's zero chance we could have done it in the location that we had, with the amount of crew that we had, and the cast, and just like the set decoration was crazy. My God. So we got really, really, really lucky with that because we didn't plan any of it prior to, like, we didn't think of any of that.
Well, what's the end goal then? Like, what's the best case scenario with like a short film, like moving forward? Like, you go to the festivals, you win awards. Like, what's the best case scenario?
Best case, I think, would be somebody seeing it and either wanting to turn it into a feature or a series. I think more realistically, just having people see us and having people
Get your name
see.
out there.
Yeah, that's really, because it's so hard now. And it's like the whole industry has changed so much. It's so hard to get yourself out there. So I feel like any way that you can,
I think.
Yeah.
That's what I love
Things have
about
changed.
all four of us is that we get an idea. This was in Sam's head
It's crazy.
and is now real. Like,
this podcast, this was
It's
in your
all
guys'
real.
head. You
And we
made
didn't-
this.
Wow.
and we didn't know. Like I was like, I'm ordering iPads, and like, just ordered iPads and lights.
And
Like
really
we just
fancy microphones.
we
Yes.
just the microphone. Yeah, these are
These
dope.
are nice.
These are where we
Yeah.
put the and they're like $100. They're not like crazy expensive. You could buy like $500, $1,000. God knows it goes up forever. But I just love that we do stuff. I think nowadays it's like everyone's watching so much stuff going on YouTube and Instagram, but like we have the ability to do our own stuff and raise money and do it, and that's what I'm curious about too. Is just like for both of you, what makes you do? Like what? Like why do you do? Like why do you write the book? Why do you not quit if you're feeling down one day? Like how do you stay motivated when so many people try to write books and movies and they just go, I'm not gonna do it, or I'm not gonna put this out? Like what motivates you both?
I think I just like always have an itch to be doing something. I don't know if it's I have a lot of things that I want to do, and I have a lot of things that I start and don't follow through on, but I think that anything that's based around acting, because my love for that is so strong, that anything that is even sort of related to it or could help me in some way, like when we started working on Instagram stuff like 2 years ago, and we were doing content shoots and posting, and we were in groups on Facebook trying to figure out what helps in the algorithm to get our stuff. Like we really started going into that. And I don't care about Instagram, but if my following is going to help me book something, then I care about Instagram.
Right.
So anything that is based around that, I think, end of the day, that would be my motivator for it.
So it's basically following what you truly love.
Keeps your fire, sets your soul on fire.
Yeah.
Keeps your passion there.
Yeah, because like the app that I wanted to do.
Yeah, what was that called? Or should we?
No, don't talk about it. That's still a great idea. But I kind of let that go because it didn't have any. That would not help me in acting in any way whatsoever.
Right.
Still want to make it happen somehow, but
Unless it popped and got you some finance, like extra financial stability or support to be able to fund your own projects.
Getting rich
Like
would be tight.
Sometimes I look
So
at that,
great.
but I think Chase. I think that's something that's changed with me too. Is I've just realized that everything takes longer than you think. And when I was younger, I would like chase like money. Where now I'm like I just want to do things that I enjoy, because the process is going to take longer than you think. And if you're chasing like the final award or money or something like that, it's just not. The process becomes unfun. You know.
and if it's not fun getting there, why are you gonna like it when you get there?
Yep.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to live a little bit more like a car mechanic, I think, or like a plumber in some ways. This is sort of your question about like why do. I think that if I were to get involved in really like sweating the wins and losses of like, is this idea going to come to full fruition as a real book, or is this idea going to come to full fruition as a real short film, then I would sort of like drive myself crazy stressing the idea of a loss and be overwhelmed by how insurmountable what I would have to do to win would be. Whereas like if I view writing as like being a car mechanic, I wake up every day, I do what I have been trained to do and what I know how to do. Some days it's going to go really well, some days it's going to go really poorly, some days there are going to be a lot of customers in my shop, some days there's probably going to be nobody, some books are going to sell, some aren't. Then I have sort of a faith in the universe that it works itself out. And that in and of itself is enough motivation to just, one, to do, and then two, to let go of it when it's done. So as long as I have done for that day, I don't have to worry about whether the next book is going to sell, because I have faith that it will work itself out. And so far, that faith has been pretty rewarded. I'm also a tremendously lucky person, so helps
like
to keep getting dealt ridiculous wins all the time.
You're putting that energy out there that it will work, and you're optimistic.
And I also think that, like, not to slag on the proverbial everybody else, but like I think that kind of does work out. Like if you are a writer who is writing every single day and waking up and making that your passion and committing to getting better at it and doing the things that you have to do to get better at it, like reading other things and like watching other things, then like you get good at it. It's the same as like I think that anybody could probably be a car mechanic if they put in the time to learn how to be a mechanic, and every day they were showing up sweating out being a mechanic, then like their shop would work out. People would eventually start coming to them. I think that kind of works in like across any profession, but with creative stuff, it's easy to get overwhelmed by how insurmountable it appears, because when you start writing a 100,000-word book, there's no guarantee that you're going to get paid for it at all, and you might waste 200 hours.
But I think that's also, too, just being consistent and having consistency. That's something so many people will start, and they're like, oh, no, I'm not good. Ooh, I'm going to diet. No, I'm done. I'm going to work out. You know, and consistency, it's not talked about that often, but I think, what?
Working out is hard. That's not, that's hard.
Working out is hard. Dieting is hard.
I know this. We literally, Savannah and I, our full text message feed is always food that we're dreaming of or food that's in front of us.
Yep.
It's very special for
How many times
Whenever
a
we're
week do you
eating,
eat
we ask
pizza?
each other to send each other what?
How many days a week do you eat pizza?
I don't want to answer that question, but I did have a friend send me a link for an interactive pizza museum that's coming to LA, and I was like, this is so incredibly up my alley.
My gosh.
And somebody that I don't know.
An interactive pizza museum?
Yeah, I think it's like
We're gonna have to go.
kind of like an Instagrammable kind of. You
I
know,
like
they keep
that.
having those
But
pop-up
what do you do?
museums.
Just
Is
like
that
go
what
and
they call
sample
it?
different pizzas?
Interactive museums? Is that a genre?
Kinda. There's just a lot of stuff, and you can like jump in
Is
and
that
take
like the
pictures
candy,
of them, and like
the candy
Happy
toast?
Place or
yeah,
whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, but it's pizza.
But it's pizza.
Excuse me.
I don't know if there's any pizza there to eat though, which would be really disappointing. Because that
I
seems
think
like
They
have
have
to, right?
to.
I looked a lot on the website and it didn't look like there was
Doesn't
any.
look like they're
Tell
gonna
me
get
about this.
You're going to have an
first of all.
I don't know.
interactive
Sorry.
pizza museum that doesn't
With
have
no
pizza
pizza?
to eat?
They have
What are you going to
to.
interact with? Like touching pepperoni?
Not me.
Sausages?
But you're right. Like, what else would you do if you're not going to eat there?
It's like the Instagram thing. So there's like the pictures that I saw. They were like little blow up pizza
They gotta
floaty
have it at
type
the end,
things,
though.
and like they
That's
should
not
be
a
better.
museum of pizza then. That's a museum of photos of pizza.
Yes, totally.
So this is probably going to start popping up all over the place. People are going to do like extravagant, like, if they do pizza, then they're going to do
Oh yeah.
donuts.
Oh yeah.
Or they're
The
going to
ice cream one already exists.
What's that one?
The Museum of Ice Cream.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I do
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
seeing that. And they're just
Out here?
pop-ups, though.
Yeah.
They're here
downtown.
for a few weeks.
I think that they're normally here for like it's like an installation that's there for
Right.
a couple of months and then they.
Oh, okay.
But I think
Los
that
Angeles
might
has
still be
really
around.
developed kind of a hilarious brand of tourism. It's
Hey.
like, are you trying to up your Instagram game? Come to Los
here.
Angeles,
Hey!
where our main activity is taking
I
photos
love
of
it.
yourself, which is appropriate because a lot of people come to Los Angeles to pursue careers in taking photos of themselves.
We
It's
can't
fine, I don't
laugh because
mind
we'll
it.
end up going.
Oh
we
yeah.
are.
Yeah,
I'd be
exactly.
interested.
I can't rag on that. I'm out here liking the photos. I'm following 1,000
Yeah.
Instagrammers.
Alyssa and I are there with multiple outfit changes. to-
Always. I saw
Doing
this thing.
hashtag content shoots.
Do you
Gotta.
remember your friend? Okay, this is probably a couple years ago. We were out on the street taking photos, and your friend drove by.
My friend drove right past us and just screamed my name out, and we were like in the middle of a
And
photo
he's like,
shoot,
"What are
which
you
is
guys
such
doing?"
an embarrassing thing to be
So
doing.
embarrassing. It's the worst.
Oh, you're taking photos?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
when we were at our old place, so maybe like a year ago. And
I was lucky that I was taking pictures of you though,
Yeah,
so you looked
looked
like the
less.
weirdo, and I looked like the cool photographer one.
Making things happen.
Yeah.
Oh, the life.
Well, you grew up out here, which I always say is rare, which you think it's rare that people, because everyone you know is from here, and I still can't grasp that.
It's super
I go,
goofy. I think I know one person from LA, and it's you.
Other than
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, but you said it's the opposite. You're like, all I know are people from LA. I mean, you
Well, I
obviously
mean,
know a
because
lot.
I'm from here, so
Right.
I grew up only knowing people from LA. But like, none of you are from LA. All of my, I think
No.
my only friend. No, I have a few friends that are from, like, my roommate's from LA.
Yeah.
We still know people from high school. Justine's from LA.
Oh, yeah.
Has LA changed, like when you like growing up at all? Do you see any difference in general of LA? Is there more people, less people? Is it more traffic, less traffic? Do you
Sexier,
know?
less sexy.
Definitely sexier since all three of you got
Burning
here.
question.
Once we got here, it
Since
was
you got
so
here, it just really like
2006.
upped it.
People always think I'm joking when I use words like that, but that is what Los Angeles is importing. We are a city designed exclusively to attract sexy people.
I was at
That's what it's
I was at
known for,
Starbucks
right?
in,
Yeah.
in Toluca Lake the other day, And there were just 3 incredibly attractive people working behind the counter. And I'm talking like very, very attractive. I'm like, holy cow, like only in Los Angeles.
Are there just pretty people everywhere?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's what, if you're a sexy person in fucking Joplin, Missouri, you're like, I want to make a living on Instagram. Where am I going to take photos of myself? How am I going to meet the people that I need to meet?
Yeah.
They're in Los Angeles, baby. And like, I think film isn't that, because film is obviously people playing characters, and in a lot of ways I think we're actually moving away from sexy characters. But that it still has an element of that in it. Like Los Angeles is kind of built to attract the people who are like, I want to make money on what I look like, either what I look like or like how much attention I can attract. Not necessarily like a lot of people who are out on Instagram and like wilding on YouTube trying to get followings that way aren't like necessarily attractive people. They just believe that their personalities are attractive. They believe people should pay attention to them. And that's what Los Angeles attracts.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
Did you ever are you a fan of New York at all, or LA has always been your choice?
I like New York fine.
I don't like the eye roll.
No, listen, I just both immediately got really excited about the idea of New York.
I never know if Savannah
gonna go right now.
I don't know if Savannah's ever picking on me.
Normally, yeah.
We've been actually really
she does
kind
have this
on
I
amazing.
know. It's because I haven't seen you
really
in such
nice.
a long time. Give it a couple of hours and I'll start shit talking you.
That's true.
She has this amazing quality where like it always feels like there's like a higher level to the joke that she is in on that me or not.
That is extremely true.
That's
Yeah.
accurate.
Like they're thinking of something. Yeah. I don't know what it is. We're not in on it.
I know. I can't tell if I'm being made fun of or being gassed up. I don't. It could be either. It could be
I
both.
don't know.
It could be both. All I know is I want her to like me.
Bonus points. I think you're good.
I like baby.
No, I never lived in New York. I lived in Minneapolis for a few years. I grew up in South Dakota in a very small town. But LA has kind of always been it for me because that's just where my friends are. I don't think if I had I think if all things were equal, I would not probably live here.
Yeah.
But a lot of people tell you when you want to be a screenwriter, like you have to go live in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like
have you
We got
been here?
computers now. We got phones. We're
we
fine.
can just do it. I think there's a better opportunity now than ever, though. You don't have to have
Exactly.
To.
I keep going.
2006, you had to almost be here.
Yeah.
I feel like 50-50 now.
I manage a writer-producer. We're constantly going into meetings in LA where we'll walk into a building in LA and sit down and they'll be like, cool, and like pull up a screen. We're like the person who works in LA is on vacation in Tulum and meeting with us from Tulum.
Yeah.
Well, then what am I doing here? Why am I paying this rent?
Well, sometimes even getting together now is like it's great to get together with friends and do like coffee or dinner, but for most meetings, it's like, why can't we just Skype?
Yeah.
Why am I going to
Yeah.
sit in traffic, spend all this time when you can just, but there is an interaction. Like we've done certain podcasts like just over Zoom or Skype,
Yeah.
and there's just not the
The
connection
missing
here.
element
I
of
get
it.
that.
Everything.
I was about to say the opposite. I was going to be like, yo, and for the record, like, this is supposed to feel like we're at dinner, right? Well, all of us are talking into microphones and we have headphones on, so pretty sure we could be having this dinner from Tulum if we wanted to be there, babe.
Relax, right?
Or we all cook the same meal.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Oh, it tastes
Wow.
delicious.
Wow.
Mine tastes like shit.
It could work. Well, the time always gets away from us. We've got 10 minutes, and I just have one. Well, we have. Is it? Yeah, time flies. We're approaching our hour. I wanted to hear about your meeting and becoming one, and then our final.
Was this your surprise question?
No, my surprise
there's
question's
one more.
after it, but it's a
a follow-up.
awesome.
No, it's a good
Wait,
time.
yeah. Hey Benji, my arm is way clean. He's been licking me, but I love you too, buddy. But yeah, how did you two meet? And
Thoughts
always
on
love to
dating
hear.
in LA too.
yeah,
Oh boy, which do you want to start with? We met at a bar club thing. I really don't know how you would categorize on the
It's a
roster.
very cute story.
And I never know how deep into the story to get.
Yeah. We met at a bar. It wasn't a like chance encounter. Oh, we're meeting through mutual friends interaction though. It was like I saw her and was like, I need to know who that girl is, and have somebody tell me immediately who that girl is.
Oh.
And
so you were complete strangers. There was no mutual friends at all.
there were mutual
There were
friends.
mutual friends.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but you weren't
But
introduced.
it wasn't like
by-
we weren't introduced. I saw her with a friend of mine. And I was like, I'm about to.
And I had like just started hanging out with that group, sort of. We have like one mutual friend, and then I had sort of started dipping my toes into that group of friends.
I was like, I'm about to pull up on this mutual friend and see what's going on. This girl next to her. So I started a conversation with the two of them, and then a couple of minutes later, I did the like super casual guy thing where I'm like sitting there at a bar. I'm like, so, there's a girl with you earlier. What was that girl's deal? And she was like, do you like my friend Savannah? And then
do we know who the mutual friend is?
Katie Cecil.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. Cute.
It's a very excited personality that was just like, who do you?
And then we had a lovely magical first night together. I don't think probably the larger story is a podcastable story. But we had an immediate interaction that brought us very close together. And established a level of trust.
We can do like an after hours podcast edition.
I was going to say, it wouldn't have been, it wasn't our first idea. It wasn't like the plan we wanted. It was more like our plan B. But,
oh, okay. Sometimes it's good to have plan B, yeah.
Now it is.
I actually remember this story. I remember the story now.
It was a good one. Yeah, I'm a averse person. I'm kind of like a relationship Darwinist. I think that the majority of relationship problems and like discontent that people have with members of the opposite sex come from expectations that they create that are not founded in the actual relationship. I think most of the bad relationships I see are when people decide to be dating and then like try to reconcile that with how they actually feel about each other. I think most of the discontent that I see people feel for other people is when they have created in their head a relationship with that person that doesn't end up panning out the way that they think it was going to. And I have seen enough of that and feel like I am smart and eyes open enough about it that I have kind of just decided that like relationships should live or die just on their own merits, and those merits should be based on, do you like hanging out with this person or do you not like hanging out with this person? Yeah. And so I haven't ever really dated anybody. We the other day had to sit down and figure out what our like anniversary actually was, because by the time that I remember very distinctly being like her dad at one point. I'd met her dad and her dad was like talking.
Jed.
He was referring to. He's funny.
We all
What's
know
up, Jed?
What a guy. He was referring to himself in front of me, and he was like, "I'll just tell him that my daughter's boyfriend. Boyfriend? Would we say boyfriend?"
This was before any. I was like, Jed.
Would we say boyfriend? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I guess we probably would. And I'm here right now, aren't I? Like, this seems like I wouldn't be here if we weren't dating. I was like, oh my god, I guess we are probably dating. Like, how long have we been dating? And I was like, 6 months. Oh my god, we have been together for a long time. So yes, we had to figure out the other day like what actually was the genesis of the relationship.
Debated it out.
Yeah.
What is it?
What did we land on? The day that we met.
September 21st.
Yeah. That's how we are too.
September 21st.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I know.
It was almost a year.
I know. Almost a year.
Oh, goddamn,
yeah, it's crazy.
We just celebrated our 7 year.
Jesus.
We don't have a date though.
Yeah,
we just have like a rough like
Point us toward the scoreboard.
June-ish month, but
Cinco de Mayo was
Cinco
our
de Mayo,
first kiss, so we always would be like, oh yeah.
yeah, we kind of count.
We
Cinco de
figure
Mayo.
once we get married, will be our
All
anniversary.
right, yeah, then we'll
Until
start.
then.
Cinco de Mayo is a great anniversary date.
Right?
It's cool. Like it was a.
You know your friends are going to be partying?
Cubs win.
They did.
Did they really?
They did?
Oh, there you go.
They did it for me.
Yeah.
So that was the date. I just wanted to say before we wrapped up, if for our audience too, like where can they find you? Do you use Twitter, Instagram, a website? Like, what's your best way for people to?
Yeah, I think if you Google Sam Miller,
just pop right up.
Yeah, Sam2 Miller is my
Google me,
social networks all over the place.
Okay.
Instagram with the 2 spelled out TWO.
Sam TWO Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yep.
If you Google me, you will not find anything.
Really?
So you'll have to go onto Instagram and type in my name.
No way.
Which is Savannah Mills, Mills. There's an extra
Y'all gotta be
S.
complicated in this game.
Awesome.
Is there another Savannah Mills out there?
I guess so.
Oh, really?
There are
There are
there's quite a
10,000
few.
Samuel Millers in the United States.
You
Really?
just Google me?
Isn't that crazy? I did. And you come up right away.
Cool. It's my IMDb
Yeah.
page.
An actress in Solstice Ranch.
My girl.
And do you think anyone, like, will the short ever be released publicly? Like, how does that work? Depending on whether it's
What do you
picked
mean?
up or
Like, would it be
bought.
streamed anywhere, or
It
would
what?
it?
Would
what
it
do
be
you,
streamed? Is she that? Yeah.
what do you mean by public?
Like, would people be able to see it, or is it too early to see, like, I guess the path, right? Like, if it gets picked up as a series, I'm sure you're not going to be able to release it.
Yeah, I think we would have to see where it goes. If it just kind of like runs the festival circuit and nothing really happens with it, then we could for sure put it online. Or I remember you guys did you put Hiker on iTunes?
We never ended up putting
No.
it out.
I'm upset with the last 20
Yeah,
minutes.
the ending.
It's all my
That's
fault.
Hiker.
Hiker.
Yeah, we shot a film in 6 days, all on GoPros.
Horror film.
Horror film, and
Found footage
love.
style.
Yeah. The thing that always bothered me about found footage is like when someone had, like right now, if I had a camera and someone came in here and started killing everybody, I wouldn't hold the camera. And I felt there was more of a believable thing if people had the camera here and they were hiking and they
Yeah.
were running away and all the cameras were like dying out as like
Sure.
the movie goes on. And I was like, I was really, really proud of the idea. We did really well. We just didn't
yeah,
have
it's
enough
really
time or
cool.
Yeah.
money. We shot it in 6 days for 10 grand, which is like crazy to shoot
That's
a feature,
a
but it
micro
ended up being
budget,
the what?
That's a micro budget.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But we did all of it, and we was like all friends who worked for free, and just the ending was just like you're like in it for like an hour, and then the ending I was just like, nah. Like we
We
needed
need
Yeah.
more
to,
money.
we need to reshoot the ending of it, which I would actually be interested to do. But
Was it a story
Shit,
problem,
it
or
was
was it
fun.
like the footage you got wasn't?
It just wasn't. It wasn't a story
No,
problem.
not story at all.
It just could have been more exciting. Like I think you lead up to this moment, and there just wasn't enough like.
What's killing the hikers?
It was just 2 people that lived in the mountains or whatever, and they all got captured and everything, and everyone was getting killed off. But I just think first person, like having like blood flying into like the
Yeah.
cameras or like fight scenes would have been more interesting. I just felt like people would go on this ride and just wouldn't have been satisfied fully, and I didn't want to put it out. But then we'd have to go and reshoot the whole thing, so we kind of just backburnered the whole deal. But we learned a lot.
Was it scary?
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was done really
It
well.
was cool.
Scary.
Yeah, Savannah,
You
she.
saw it. You were in it.
Yeah, you saw
I
that.
saw it.
You saw it.
Yeah.
What'd you think? Like it was,
I really enjoyed it.
We
I
have the final thing. We could just put it out.
do you really?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see
We
it.
should
if
at
you
least
don't put
watch it
out.
sometime.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, you can see what you think. There was just like mistakes made, and I'm such a perfectionist, but it was like we needed more of a team. You know what I mean? To make all these things work,
Yeah.
and we just didn't have enough money.
Movies
and
are
time
so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You guys also threw that together so quickly, which is like really impressive that you ended up with the product that you do have. Like the end of it bothers you a little bit, sure, fine.
Right.
Those kind of things are always going to bother us. But you guys have a feature-length horror film that was shot really well. I remember when you started talking about it to the time when you actually started shooting it was like no time at all. It was like, wait, Freddie had an idea and you're shooting it next weekend? What do you mean?
A lot of people have ideas for things. A lot of people want to do things. Not a lot of people do things.
Yeah.
Gotta do.
Gotta do.
Gotta execute.
That's what.
I
yeah,
think
that's
everyone
what
at
is
this
really very
table does
impressive.
that, and it is impressive. Like you guys, you should be very proud of all your works that you've.
A
brought
light
to life.
too bright.
You do, baby.
You
Sam
do, baby.
Miller.
And
Solstice
real quick,
Ranch, Savannah
before
Mills.
we wrap this up, we love
Freddie.
we love
Savannah from LA.
gosh.
I'm
Born
gonna
and
change my
raised.
Instagram handle.
Savannah,
We'll let them banter
daughter
a
of
minute.
Jed. Jed Mills.
I'm waiting.
We should have Jed on.
You
Jed would
should.
be
That is a
amazing.
commitment for you guys to decide
I
to have
love
Jed.
that.
I'm gonna
You
have
should
to
hear this
have him.
voicemail
Yeah,
that he left for
Jed
me
left
last
him a
night.
voicemail
Oh my
yesterday.
God.
I'm excited.
I wouldn't even want like any questions for Jed. I think if we
Just
just,
let
let
him
Jed
go.
go.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
surprise.
You guys have
He's
to come to
got
one of his improv shows.
I know.
I think
he just started.
He's
in
really
like
good.
2-3 weeks
Yeah.
is the next
People
one.
sleep on this because he's a ridiculous human being. But he's a very good actor.
Just his story. I can't wait to hear his life
Yeah.
story in general.
Oh my gosh. We really should have him on.
Oh my god.
So good. Well, no, what I was going to say to wrap up, we love doing a life tip for our listeners. So anything that our listeners can apply, and it can be in any category or topic, just something that maybe you personally are utilizing or using. a life tip that they can use?
Oh boy. I think in general, the one thing that I try to remind myself just consistently every day, all the time, regardless of what's going on, is perspective is really, really important in life.
I disagree.
Listen, Sam.
I disagree.
I think somebody needs a perspective change. Just to be able to, like, if you're having a bad day, whatever's going on probably isn't that bad. If you can pop yourself out of it for a second and take a look at it, and just shuffle things around to make it, even if it is shitty, there's a way out of that shittiness, and a lot of people let themselves just, like, soak in shit, which doesn't sound fun to anyone.
We got our title for the episode.
Yeah.
Don't let yourself soak in shit.
So there's
Savannah
my
and
tip.
Sam, episode 12. I love that. Perspective's huge.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I really like that.
How about you, Sam? What's a good little life tip?
He likes to soak in shit.
Were you just
I don't.
bantering
I
or
rarely
kidding
soak
about
in
perspective,
shit.
or do you have?
No, I don't disagree at all. I completely agree. I think anytime anyone has a problem in their life, that there is no problem in anyone's life that couldn't be solved by taking a step backwards. Like the further you get back, the bigger the problem, the further you have to step back. But like on a long enough timeline, everyone's life is trending toward like death. But also
Right.
like toward better. Like if your life isn't trending toward better, then
Gotta adjust.
I guess that's a big macro sadness. But then then it's on its way to I don't know.
But it's never not. You're not like projected at a sad life. You either
no one is
or
angling
you-
towards a sad life.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're set back, but I think that the thing that I have to constantly remind myself, whether it comes to working out or writing books or literally just like going to meet with people for dinner, is that it is always easier to not do things than to do things. And if I remind myself of that, then I remember how important it is to like do things, that I have to like constantly beat back my body's natural resting state of like wanting to like not go hang out with people, not go write the book, not go work out. It would be very much easier to be unconscious, to be passive, but
Do shit 2K18.
we gotta do shit 2K18. Life is intended to be lived consciously.
Okay,
That's just thing. It's just some shit we're on this year. Like do things
Just do
2K18.
stuff.
We're not doing enough things.
Yeah.
I love that.
But I do it to myself all the time. I'm constantly like, oh man, it would be so much easier to not write today. So I'm just gonna not write today. That sounds good. No, I never feel better in the end. Ultimately, I'm fulfilled by the things that I do and not the things that I don't do. But it's easier to not do things than it is to do things. So that is
awesome.
That's great.
I love that.
Well, you guys have been so
Good old life hack.
amazing.
You've been so amazing.
Thanks for
Not you,
having us,
Freddie.
man.
Alyssa's been great.
She carried
We're
the
here.
show. I couldn't even get my name out at the beginning of this one. And messed up book titles and veggie petting. And
Take a break. Let Alyssa take the lead for a little while.
I know. I think it's just got to be the Alyssa show.
Alyssa
and
show.
then like you just cut to me on the couch over
Like,
there now and then going, "What's the life tip?"
Fellow sidekick.
But thank you so much for coming
Yes.
to Pasadena and kicking it with us. And
Seriously.
yeah, we'll have a little rated R version maybe after dark.
Is there a rated R
podcasting.
version? Oh yeah. That
Little
we're gonna
rated-
we're gonna
we'll
tape
dig-
later. Or was this the rated R version? Because if this was the rated R version, I have way more.
Yeah, I've got
opinions.
stuff
Can I get
say.
my life tip back?
We'll keep this one the PG version. So, but thank you both for coming,
Yes,
and we
you.
appreciate you so
Yeah.
much.
And thank you guys for listening. We'll
yeah,
see
and thank
you
you all for listening. See you later.